Hi, I'm Jeff Van Gundy, and you're listening to Thunder Bus.
Welcome to Thunderbus with your hosts Watson and Bones.
I'm Watson.
And I'm Bones.
We get serious about the Thunder on this podcast.
But we don't get too serious.
Bones, joining us on the bus today is Max Hooper. Max played college basketball at St. John's in Oakland, where he took 490 shots, all but 11 of which were threes. He made it to the NBA G League and today is on staff with some team called the Los Angeles Lakers. Max, welcome on the bus.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome. So, Max, during your senior season, you took 257 threes. You took 257 shots, and all of them were threes. How is it possible to play over 800 minutes of basketball without taking a single two-point shot? Did you start actively avoiding twos at some point?
What I'll say about that is, definitely, especially as I get further and further removed from it, it's definitely crazy that one or two twos didn't slip in there, that I didn't step on the line or something like that. But the mindset, I mean, anyone who knew me throughout my playing career knew that, probably 90% of my shots were threes, but, I'd throw the occasional layup in there, the occasional mid-range in high school, AAU, in college before, but then really I just kind of, always was known as a three-point shooter and just kind of took that to the extreme. At Oakland University, for people who don't know, Greg Campy, the head coach there, he has a long lineage of three-point shooters. So you got Travis Bader, who his record of career three-point field goals made was just broken by Fletcher McGee, so he's second all-time in makes. Kendrick Nunn, came after me. Before me was Reggie Hamilton, Eric Kangas. So he always has guys who shoot a high volume of threes, and he runs sets to get those guys shots. And that was my role in that team. I played with Kay Felder, Jalen Hayes. Kay Felder, one of the best players in Horizon League history. Jalen Hayes, all-league guy multiple times. So played with other really good players, and I just kind of played my role to the extreme. My mindset was, if someone runs me off the line, why would I step in and shoot the 17-foot mid-range when I can just step to the side and shoot the three? And if I can't get that, as a player, I wasn't the quickest, so I felt like, hey, maybe I can just throw it to Kay Felder, our NBA point guard who can get to the rim. So that was kind of my mindset and how that happened, but it was never a path I went down like, hey, I'm going to actively avoid these shots. And I was a lot of people think of it as a circus act or something, but I was an extreme weapon, 45% from three, shooting almost 8 threes a game. That changes a lot of things like that teams have to do. So
yeah, and it's not like your shots were uncontested. People knew you could shoot and they were getting up in your grill, but you have a quick release. You're tall, so you're able to get a lot of those shots off with high difficulty.
Yeah, you gotta, and it almost makes it even more impressive because, if people just think you're a one-trick pony, like that's usually easy to take away. So you got to work your butt off to get open and get free to not only get those shots off, but to knock them down. So it's a crazy stat, but, I got the story to tell about it.
So we got to ask, do you enjoy that your name is Max Hooper? And do the jokes get old sometimes?
I love it. I'm the first the first person in my family who really played basketball at any sort of serious level. So, for me, people think I'm joking. Like when they first meet me, they think I'm joking. That's my name. Like even this year, I just started working with the Lakers, and a couple of the, some people call me Hooper, just as like referring to me as my last name. And some of the players were like looking at me like, what are they talking about? And they're like, they're joking, right? I'm like, no, that's my name. So that was kind of funny. But, yeah, I love it. The Twitter jokes are pretty funny whenever people tag me or mention me in certain things.
That's wild that you said that you were the first one in your family to play basketball.
Yeah, I mean, at any sort of high level, maybe I
Okay.
had distant relatives who played in high school or whatever, but like
Gotcha.
my parents never played. I don't have siblings who play. I don't have aunt and uncles who played. So
Yeah, it was meant to be.
yeah, I guess so. I suppose so.
But you're not ruling out some second cousin once removed hooper who went hooping somewhere
There-
else.
There could be one somewhere down the line. I have to do with the ancestor.com or something like that.
So, Max Hooper obviously is a somewhat unusual name just because you're a basketball player. But is it true that you also had a teammate at St. John's whose name was God's Gift?
Yeah, God's Gift was my teammate at St. John's for 2
That's
years.
insane.
We had some crazy names over there. Yeah, Sir Dominic Pointer too.
Yeah. Wow.
A guy who played for the Cavs G League and just made the Cavs roster this year. So a good friend of mine, Sir Dominic. He has some crazy names over there. That was pretty funny.
Max, tell us how you got to be such a good shooter.
Definitely. I mean, really, it stems from for me, it stems from being 4 years old and just shooting obsessively in the backyard. Started there, and sometimes people say, "Oh, you just had a gift for it," and I think that's like the most disrespectful thing you could say because it kind of undermines the countless amounts of hours and
Absolutely.
energy and effort invested to it. And I've heard Ray Allen say something like that because it's like, sure, like you said earlier, I have the size. I'm 6'5", 6'6" to get my shot off, but I would say foot speed wise, I'm not the quickest, and so for me, it was all about working on my shot repeatedly over and over and over. And like I said, my mom never played, so I never had someone instructing me on form early in my career. So I just kind of I would just watch J.J. Redick. I would just watch Reggie Miller. I would just kind of try to emulate them, go in the backyard, shoot those crazy fadeaways that those guys would shoot, and just work on my game. And then as I kind of got a little older, I started taking training seriously, had access to certain trainers, or I would have I went to high schools where I had the gun, the shooting machine, so I just rep it out on there. And then that was kind of how I mastered my spot up shooting. But for me, when going to Oakland University, like Coach Campy, kind of like I said, you got to be able to shoot on the move. So that was another level for me. So I needed to not just be pigeonholed as a spot up shooter, but a guy who could run around the screens and different patterns and knock down shots. So Anthony Morrow became a good friend of mine. I kind of sought him out
Former
as a shooter I
Thunder
really
player
admired.
Anthony Morrow.
No doubt. Got to give a tip of the hat. But I had friends in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'd go train with Anthony Morrow in Charlotte, North Carolina, just because I wanted to, challenge myself and compete against someone who did it the highest of the high levels. So, really just a pattern of work, obsessive, kind of crazy maniacal work where, if I made 495 threes, it wasn't enough. I had to make 500 every day. Or if I shot 82%, I needed to shoot 85%. Like just always pushing myself to be the best I could be as a shooter and maximize everything I had. And that's kind of, I don't know why I'm wired like that, because as I started coaching, I realized not all players are, and just kind of how I am. And I just, use that to put in the time and effort over and over and over.
What are some things that people get wrong with their jump shot? Like, where are some common mechanical problems that you find with people's jump shots?
At the highest level, or like with kids?
Let's go NBA.
Yeah, I mean, mechanically, I feel like once they get to that level, they're pretty sound. But what I think guys can improve on is just probably being a little more creative with their workouts and not just shooting, regular shots where you just, hey, let's make 5 at 5 spots or something like that. Really getting yourself moving and challenging yourself, so when you get into the game environment, it's quite a bit easier. Building in different tricks and different things to, as I've become a shooting coach myself, just challenging guys in different ways. So when they're in the game, those shots just become second nature and they're not overthinking things. Mechanically, I mean, like I said, once they get to that level, I feel like these guys have accomplished quite a bit where they're pretty sound, but probably just need fine tuning and little tweaks here and there.
So you said shooting coach. Is that your job with the Lakers right now? Is shooting coach?
That's not my official title, but that is a skill set that I've developed. My official title is coaching associate. So I'm a big part of my job is working on video, but also a big part of my job is being on court and helping with player development. But last year I actually coached at Brewster Academy, which is a prep school in New Hampshire, and we had Jalen McHugh there, and who's in the NBA now. And Brewster has had 17 NBA players in the last 10 years, and a big part of my role was being the shooting coach.
Max, how did you come to be employed by the Lakers?
Yeah, that I think, as people always say, it's all about who you know and who can vouch for your work and your work ethic and your ability to help the team. So a really good friend of mine who I trained with in high school, actually, who recruited me in high school and who was a mentor of mine throughout my playing career, was Miles Simon, who's on the Lakers coaching staff. And when I knew there would be an opening regarding this position last off season, and it was my goal to work in the NBA, so I kind of just leaned on Miles, and he helped me through that process and got me in the mix. And I had to interview and earn the position myself, but he definitely helped me get in the mix.
You know, they say networking, and it sounds like for you it was nothing but networking.
100%. So important.
Yeah. But watch out for my lecture series coming to a convention center near you.
I love it.
So have you helped LeBron with his shooting at all?
In a one-on-one setting, no. My role is more of a facilitating / supporting role. You know, my voice is not really. It's my first year in the NBA, so my voice is not necessarily one of the prominent voices in practice. You know, I'm more in the background, but that'd be something I'd love to do in the future as I continue to progress through my career, for sure.
Max, do you have any opinion on why LeBron's foul shooting is inconsistent?
I mean, a professional opinion, you know, as an employee of the Lakers, I'll just keep it simple and just say that, you know, he works on it every day. He puts in the time, and he definitely, he's just not as consistent as you would like to be. But when you're a guy who's of that stature and like so great at so many other things, I think you're all right if you're just a little bit below, you know, extremely excellent in that category when you're so great at so many other things.
Right. I mean, he's close to league average and has been for his career. It's just, you know, it's interesting as a fan. You see his routine at the foul line changing a little bit here and there, but like we definitely understand that. Yeah. There's only so much you can say from your position. I was just kind of curious.
He averages 27.77 for his career, so it's just another number of sevens for his for the stat book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you'd love him to be 80 plus, and I think he would love to be 80 plus. But at the end of the day, when, like I said, he does so many things great, and he's not Shaq, you know, he's not in the 50s or whatever.
Right.
So I think he's over his 17-year career, he's worked at it and done what he's needed to do, and it's just kind of been that bugaboo for him. But he's been able to. He's had really good years. I don't know if he's been over 80 ever any years, but he's been in the high 70s certain years. So it's like I said, it's inconsistent.
That's his career high, 78 for a season.
Yeah. Well,
right.
And then Russell Westbrook, who, you know, is considered a great player among many fans. He would probably love to shoot around in the 70s for the past several seasons. So
is that a situation you're familiar with? So, you know, we're a Thunder podcast. We're all big Russ fans. He shot basically 85% for most of his career, and then they changed a rule that said you couldn't leave the foul shooting area because he used to go all the way back to half court and back. And when they changed the rule, he plummeted to 70%. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Wow, I was not familiar with that narrative, but I could see it. I could see it for sure from a routine perspective, from a guy being comfortable. Free throws are all about being comfortable, being in your element, creating an environment that you're familiar with, and that's why guys always do their routine. That's why LeBron has struggled by switching up his routine, but if you watch Steph Curry, every single time, eyes locked on the rim, one dribble, boom, straight up into it, and he's the best to ever do it, right? I believe career-wise he's the best free throw percentage. So, I mean,
Yeah, if he retired today, he'd have the record.
Exactly. So for Russ to have his routine broken, I can see that affecting it. 15% worth, that's kind of shocking, but I could see it for sure.
Do all players work on shooting threes now, including guys like JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard?
They do, yeah. In our workouts, we like to give guys a steady dose of the shots that they're going to get in games. So Danny Green gets a lot of screens for threes, gets a lot of handoffs for threes, a lot of pick and rolls. Rondo does more pick and roll stuff. Guys do what they do in the game. And Dwight and JaVale, the majority of their workouts is post stuff, dump downs, pick and rolls. But at the end of the workouts, they'll knock out their 5 or 10 at each spot and get some threes just to get a rhythm. That wasn't a big part of what we wanted them to do offensively or what they did offensively, but it's kind of like you alluded to, the league is trending that way where everyone has to be able to shoot the ball, so they would get their work in and they would work on it.
What kind of a threshold is there to determine when the organization or when the coaching staff wants a player to shoot a shot in a game? How proficient does JaVale McGee have to be before he has the green light to shoot an open three?
I'll leave that judgment up to Coach Vogel, because that's his area of expertise, and that he's the conductor of the train and the one running the show. But I mean, I think as professionals, as a coaching staff, it's on us to trust them and have guys believe in what they do. But that doesn't mean that Dwight Howard should come out and start firing up 10 threes a game. But if he's worked on it in practice, he feels confident in it, then and he's open, then I feel like him and JaVale can shoot one a game or so. But we when you have guys like Danny Green and KCP and Avery Bradley, guys who can really, really shoot it, it's probably best to get them the majority of the threes.
So you mentioned Rajon Rondo earlier, and he is shooting, I believe, a career high. Well, no, he was. He kind of over the last few months of the season, he kind of went downhill, but he's improved a lot as a 3-point shooter, kind of in the twilight of his career, whereas he used to be a guy that teams would just completely sag off him, leave him open, and he still wouldn't shoot threes. Do you have any thoughts on what's enabled him to make so much progress as a perimeter shooter after his 30th birthday?
I can speak I don't know exactly, what, because this is my first year working in the NBA and first year with the Lakers. So I don't know what Rondo has been doing, but I know this year he's busted his butt to shoot. And in practice, practice and in workouts, he really doesn't miss. He's really one of our best spot up shooters, and you kind of just almost count it in the bank when he lets it fly. And in the game, I think he was over 50% from three early in the season. Not on a high volume of shots, but he it's kind of what I talked about the whole time. Is he's put in that work. He's put in the effort, the purposeful practice every day to get better at it. And early in his career, I'm sure mentally, teams sagging off like that didn't help his mental space as a shooter, and it definitely probably had a negative effect on him. But now I think he's, like you said, after his 30th birthday, a mature, extremely intelligent, highly advanced IQ player. I think he's found a way to knock down those shots and feel comfortable doing so in the game, at least at a much higher rate than he was earlier in his career.
Max, what are your goals for your coaching career?
My goals are, I set the bar high, extremely high for whatever I'm doing as a player. My goal was, play in the NBA and stay there as long as I could, and I obviously didn't quite get there, but I'm grateful for every aspect of my journey and everything that led me there. And now my goal is NBA head coach or college head coach. So I know those are big goals, but I believe that, if you put in the effort every day, continue to learn, have a humble growth mindset, that you can accomplish anything. And I try to seek out people who have gotten there and learn from them, learn from their path, and seek out others who are on a similar path, but maybe not quite there. Like I said, NBA assistant coaches, college assistant coaches, always trying to learn and grow. So I guess to answer your question, those are my goals for sure. I want to be at the highest level and have a chance to have my voice be the number one voice, and see what I can do, and hopefully build a winning culture wherever that may be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we wish you the best of luck with that.
Max,
No, I appreciate it.
So one matchup I think every NBA fan was and is still looking forward to, if we have the playoffs this year, is the Lakers and Clippers. How do you see these two teams matching up?
Man, that is I mean, I think everyone in the basketball world would love to see that. And if things were normal, not in this crazy situation, it would be something that's never happened before. A playoff series where you never have to leave. You never have to leave the arena.
Yeah.
So that would have been pretty crazy. But the way the teams match up, there's star power on both sides of the ball. Kawhi Leonard obviously has become one of the best two-way players in recent memory, for sure. Offensively, just ball handling and shooting and isolation scoring has grown at an extreme rate, and is one of the best in the league. And defensively, I think his abilities speak for itself. Paul George, extremely efficient shooter, scorer, and then obviously, our star power speaks for itself between AD and LeBron, and then the supporting cast are all super talented and experienced. I think that's the thing to note. Guys who've got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years in the league, who have done it at a high level for a long time and are hungry to win a championship, but also humble enough to know that what their role is and how to execute it. Guys like Danny Green, Avery Bradley, KCP, Rondo, Dwight, JaVale, etc. So I think it would be an awesome matchup for basketball fans, and I would love for that matchup to take place. And hopefully, our fingers are still crossed, it can still happen, but we'll have to see. But most importantly, as a Lakers, as a member of the Lakers staff, we have to focus on, if the playoffs start and we have to play Memphis in the first round, we have to focus on Memphis first and foremost, because if we don't focus on Memphis, then there's no Clippers matchup to be had. So you take it one game at a time, but you also know that would be a pretty cool matchup to have take place.
And the Memphis Grizzlies have been the victor in an 8-1 matchup before, so yeah, you definitely can't take them for granted.
Absolutely not. That's how you look foolish, by looking forward to things.
So we've talked about the Lakers plenty. Let's talk about your playing career a little bit. So your senior year at Oakland, you won on the road at Washington, who had 3 future NBA players: DeJounte Murray, Matisse Thybulle, Marquise Chris. You also started for St. John's in a win over Georgia Tech at the Barclays Center, and you had a 28-point game on 11 shots against East Tennessee State. What stands out about these games to you? Do you consider these your career highlights?
3 very interesting choices. I like it. At Washington, I will note I played terrible. I shot the ball terribly.
I wasn't going to bring that
up.
A
team, yeah. But as a team, that was that was a hell of a win, in the sense that, like you said, 3 former pros. I think Washington didn't have a great year that year, but that really helped us in terms of, because that was in December, right before we're rolling into the into conference play and everything like that. That was a team that had played with a lot of confidence offensively.
And if I'm not mistaken,
that game,
didn't you guys almost beat number 1 Michigan State right after that?
Yeah, I'm not big on the almost. Obviously that still kind of rips at my heart to this day that we did not. No, we're good. We're good. I love it though. But that kind of bothers me that we didn't knock them off. Yeah, the number one team in the country, Michigan State, right down the street from Oakland University's campus. 18,000 plus sold out arena, really a crazy environment. And then those two games, Kay Felder, I think it was 37 and 39 points in those games, really put him on the map, helps him to get in a position to be able to declare early and kind of put his name on the NBA radar there. But those games, crazy atmospheres. Washington, great to get a win there against a super talented team. I think you mentioned, what did you mention? St. John's against
Georgia Tech.
Against someone. Yeah, well, the game before that was Penn State. That was one of my best games at St. John's. It was St. John's Penn State. We lost, but I hit 5 for 8 from 3 and shot it really well. So that was probably my highlight of my short-lived St. John's career. And then a couple other big games. East Tennessee State, we played in the Vegas 16, which actually only existed for 1 year, I believe. And it was a postseason tournament because we got our hearts broken in the conference tournament, so we didn't make the NCAA tournament. We played in that. And, as a fifth-year senior, you never want it to end. So it was great to get to play a couple extra games and have that big-time game against East Tennessee State. We handled them pretty good, and I think Kay Felder had a triple-double that night too. So that was
of course,
that was a pretty good moment for sure.
Speaking of Kay Felder, he later played with the 2016-17 Cleveland Cavaliers. Can you tell us anything interesting he shared with you about the team?
For sure. Kay, I still am really close with Kay. Really great guy. One of my favorite teammates I've ever played for. Honestly, I owe a lot of my accolades as a player to him in the sense that he was the point guard delivering the ball to me, along with, the big men screening for me and whatnot. But he really knew how to get me the ball on time, on target. He knew that using the three-point shooters and using his post players would free things up for him. And that mindset, it allowed us to be the offensive team we were and allowed us to lead the nation in scoring the way we did in 15-16. And what he talked to me about being on that team as a young rookie, second-round pick, a guy with not tons of – he expected the most out of himself, but not tons of expectations. He just took it day by day and learned from Kyrie and learned from LeBron, got to be a part of a team that was competing for a championship, which is unique as a rookie, especially coming from a school like Oakland University. And he played with the same chip on his shoulder that he played with when I first met him as a sophomore at Oakland, and the same chip on his shoulder that he played with in China and averaged 23 and 10 this year. So he's got the little man's complex, which is awesome because he's 5'9", but he doesn't take crap from anyone. He's a bulldog on the court, and that year he said he learned tons from LeBron, Ty Lue, Kyrie, and just had a really great experience.
Yeah, I remember watching the Cavs that year, and I had never heard of Kay Felder when he was in college, but I remember just watching like this little guy, but he was always dusting dudes and getting to the rim, getting layups. He certainly impressed me.
Yeah, at that size to be able to do what he does, it just speaks on. It just shows his the heart that he plays with, the passion, the drive that he plays with. It's pretty incredible to watch.
Max, how did you get into the G League?
Yeah, the G League. The G League is interesting for sure, and the way that really went down my first year, I played in NBA Summer League with OKC with the Thunder. Didn't play tons of minutes, just a couple of opportunities here and there. I told myself I wanted to go to the G League. I didn't want to really explore overseas options. I wanted to go play in the G League, and the way that worked is I went to the G League draft, and I was a first-round pick of the Westchester Knicks. Looking back, unfortunately, didn't really get much of an opportunity with them. Just played a couple games, but nonetheless, grateful to have been picked to be in the G League and had the opportunity to be in training camp and be around for a couple months and learn from those coaches, learn from those players, and always grateful for every opportunity I've been given.
So I didn't realize that you played for the Thunder Summer League team. Can you tell us who are some guys who went on to play for the actual Thunder team? Not just the Summer League, but actually made the roster eventually. Who are some guys you played with?
For sure. Off the top of my head, it would be Samaje Christian, Cam Payne, Daniel Hamilton, Dakari Johnson, Josh Eustace, Mitch McGarry. Off the top of my head, those are the ones.
A lot of fun guys.
2016 Summer League.
Takes me back.
Yeah, it's a flashback. We've had a lot of roster turnover the last few years.
Oh, no doubt. It's hard to keep track of, I'm sure.
We were always kind of fans of Josh Eustace whenever he got in the game. I mean, his shot kind of came and went, but when it was on, you're like, okay, I can see what this guy can do. He's a great perimeter defender. Had a nice high release on his jumper. We were all rooting for him to make it. Just didn't really pan out in the end. But we were Eustace fans for sure.
Yeah, classic 3-and-D guys. I believe what the Thunder would have seen in them. Versatile, 6'7", 6'8", good size. I know he's still playing at a high level. I believe in the EuroLeague, but
yeah, he's in Germany now.
Yep.
So, what is the experience of being a G League player like? I know your time was limited, but the G League I think is kind of a mystery to a mainstream NBA fan. Can you just kind of talk about what it's like just being with the team in the G League?
Yeah, I mean, the G League is, you have to be extremely motivated, extremely driven, and extremely mentally strong to succeed in the G League because the roster is going to constantly be changing. You're only going to have about a week of training camp, and then you're just rolling into games. So you have to be a guy who's self-sufficient, who knows how to work as a pro, who knows how to come in and just get better every day and take every day with a business-like approach. So as a player, you have to be pretty much just dialed in because, if you're not able to do it, then, you're going to be cut and you're going to be sent home and someone else who can do it is going to be coming in. So you have to almost come in with a fighter's mentality every day. Like, hey, I'm here to get something better. Cause guys don't want to build careers in the G League. Guys want to play in the NBA or they want to play at the highest level overseas because the NBA, that's the dream, everyone's childhood dream. And overseas, the money you're probably making 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times the G League salary per month. So that's the mindset of guys. And the unfortunate thing is sometimes that creates a bit of a selfish mentality. Like, hey, if I just get my points, I'll get a contract I want. But the guys who come in and really show that they have the talent to do it and that they know how to play, those are the ones who succeed in the G League rather than guys who just come in and take horrible shots and don't play the right way. Because NBA teams and high-level teams overseas, they're looking for guys who know how to play, who understand the game, and who bring a skill set to the table that can help that professional team.
All right, well, I think that's the last stop on the bus today. Max, thank you so much for joining us.
No doubt.
You can follow Max on Twitter at MaxTheHooper, and you can follow Thunderbus on Twitter at Thunder_Bus_pod. Until next time, thanks for riding the bus this week, and Thunder up!